Learning 3D designs can be challenging, but today I made a simple flower pot. Stick around and I'll show you the easy steps so you can make one too. Now shift A to add a mesh cylinder. I'll reduce the vertices to 16 and scale on the Z axis. I'll switch to edit mode, and with the vertex mode selected, I'm just going to scale the bottom part and add a loop cut. Ctrl arrow to do that. Now select the faces around the loop cut and Alt E to extrude along the normals. Now select the face and insert a little bit, then extrude downwards. Now I will scale it and delete the face. I'll add a circle. I'm going to scale it and bring it to the top. Now on the face menu, I'll grid fill, or I can just press Ctrl F on my keyboard to grid fill. I'll select some faces randomly. I'll edit it with the proportional editor, or on your keyboard to do that, and using G edit it. This is just to make the face uneven for the soil. Now I'll add the subdivision modifier and shade it smooth, but it's looking like a plate, so I just need to add loop cut to tighten some edges. So I'm going to add a loop cut right there and move it. This is just to define the edges. So I'll add another one right here and move it up a bit. And this is what it looks like now. So now I'm going to add the bezier curve to serve as the stem. I'll move it to the top and rotate it on the y-axis. Now switch to edit mode. Then on the data properties, just turn on the geometry and add depth and resolution. Turn on fill caps just to cover the hole at the top. Now switch back to object mode. I'll add a plane for the leaves. I'm just going to scale it on x-axis and move it to the top. Now switch to edit mode and add some loop cuts. And I'll do it vertically too and add a loop cut there. Now I'll select this edge and scale it a bit inside. Then I'll select the other end and also scale it. I'll move it on the x-axis so it forms the leaf shape. I'll add another loop cut at the middle right here. This is to serve as the vein of the leaf. And I'm going to move it down on the z-axis. Now with the edge mode on, I'm going to select these two edge loops and scale it on the Y just to bring it closer a bit. This will make the vein at the leaf to pop out more. Now select these three vertices at the end and extrude it on x-axis. Now I will add the solidify and the subdivision surface modifiers. Now switch back to object mode just to shade it smooth. I'll switch back to edit mode again and I'm just going to scale this using my proportional editing. I'm just going to make some adjustments. In the vertex mode, I'm just going to drop it down a bit with the proportional editing. I'll switch to edit mode. Now I'm just going to rotate it and reduce the size and place it where it needs to be. Now make a duplicate and also carry out the same process. On the solidify modifier, I'm going to increase the thickness. Now I'll add a cube for my flower. I'm just going to scale it and bring it to the top. I will add a subdivision modifier and put the levels on 3, then shade it smooth. I'm going to scale it on the Z axis. Now I'm going to hide the other models. I'm just going to select and press H on my keyboard to hide them. Now I'm going to bring the petals down and scale it again. Now Ctrl A to add scale and rotation. This will help the array modifier to duplicate the objects correctly and work properly. I'll set the object origin to 3D cursor and I'm going to add an empty. I'll use the plane axis. Select the petal and add the array modifier. I'm going to turn off the relative offset and turn on object offset. Using the eyedropper, I'm just going to pick the empty and increase the count to 8. Now, using R to rotate, I'm going to rotate the empty and this is what we have. Now I'll switch to edit mode to make some little adjustments. I'm just going to add the loop cut and take it to the top. On the wireframe mode, I'm just going to reduce the bottom and also increase the top. Add another loop cut and move it just to have the roundness. So I'll turn off the proportional editing and still make some adjustments on the flower. I'm going to add another loop cut close to the bottom and scale. Now this is what happens when you try to move the flower. So once you are done with your editing, just apply the array modifier. Now on the outliner, I will click on the eye icon to hide the empty. I'm also going to click on the eye icon of the other objects to make them visible again. Now just make some little arrangements. Now I'll add a cube and turn it to a sphere and put it right there at the middle. Or you can just use a UV sphere for yours. Now let's add some materials. So switching to the material preview, I'm just going to give my model the colors. So for the leaves, I'll give it a green color and do the same for the other leaf. I'm just going to give my pot a brown color. For the inside, which is the soil, I'm going to tab into edit mode. With the vertex mode on, I'm just going to select a vertex. Then holding down Ctrl and plus on my keyboard, I'm just going to select it. Then I'll click on the plus sign on material and assign. So I'll give it a new material color. I'm just going to reduce the brightness so it looks like a soil. Now I'll switch to object mode and add material to my remaining objects. Now I'm going to make a duplicate of this flower pot. I'll give it another color. So I'm just going to select the flower. On the material preview, I'm just going to click on that tool right there to make it a single copy. And I'll also do the same for the pot. I'll select the material, click on the tool to make it a single copy and choose a different material. Now I'm going to add a plane for my background. I'm just going to scale this and tab into edit mode and extrude the other part on the Z axis. So I'm going to scale this again, now in object mode, just to cover the screen a little bit and give it some materials. Now let's add lighting. Go to render preview and on the outliner, just turn on the eye icon of my light. On the light property, I'm going to select sunlight. I'll put the strength at 3. Now I'll choose a color and I'll set the angle to 5 degrees just so I have that shadow look around the pot. Now to word properties, I'm going to select a color and increase the brightness a bit. Now put the strength at 2, but it's looking too bright, so I'm just going to leave it at 1. Now I'm going to rotate my lights. I'm not too good with lighting yet, but this setup will make the flower pot look nice. And that's it, we have made a simple 3D flower pot. My lighting isn't perfect yet, so I would love to hear your tips in the comments. Like and subscribe for more beginner friendly projects.